Today, Segue Resources Managing Director Stephen Michael provides an update on the Junior Explorer's latest acquisition strategy. Stephen, what is the rationale for Segue Resources to acquire 3 exploration projects in the Albany-Fraser Range province of Western Australia?
Segue is acquiring 12 exploration permits in the Fraser Range province of Western Australia. 8 of them are in the north of Sirius's Nova Bollinger project and south of the Tropicana Gold project. The 8 exploration licences we're terming the Plum Ridge project, which we're exploring for base metals, specifically nickel and copper, and also for gold. Segue will control over 3,500 square kilometres in the region, which will make it the 3rd largest publicly listed landholder in the Fraser Range province. The exploration program for us will be initially focused on the nickel and copper prospectivity, which we will look to identify some targets over the next quarter for follow-up drilling in the first half of next year.
How is the ownership for each of these projects structured, and what are the key commodities they are focused on?
Through this transaction, we're acquiring 3 unlisted companies, and with those companies we own 8 of the tenements outright 100%, and 4 of the tenements in the Plum Ridge region are part of a joint venture with International Goldfields, where Segue will be earning a 60% interest in the joint venture by spending $1 million. So once we've spent that initial $1 million, we will have 8 tenements 100% and 4 tenements 60%. And the main commodities we'll be looking for will be nickel and copper in the Plum Ridge project. We will then be looking for gold at Plum Ridge, and in the Derelinia project, which is in the south, that's prospective for gold and also for uranium.
And how much is Segue paying to acquire these exploration licences, and how will they be funded?
The good thing about this acquisition is we're paying a cash deposit up front of $200,000, and the rest of the acquisition, which is $1.1 million, will be funded wholly out of Segue shares. We're issuing 550 million shares for that $1.1 million. So it's going to be funded out of the current cash reserves of Segue, which after we sold the Emang Manganese project, we now have cash reserves of around $1.2 million, so we can fund the cash deposit and the first round of exploration out of our existing cash reserves.
Are the project acquisitions subject to any preceding conditions?
There's no conditions from the vendors. The only condition from our side is shareholder approval. We need to get approval for the transaction, and some of the vendors' shareholders will receive over 20% of the shares of Segue, so we need shareholder approval for them to not require a takeover of Segue as a result of the transaction.
What will be the next steps for Segue in the development of these projects?
Well, the first stage for us is to try to identify eye targets, and by that I mean similar to Sirius's Nova deposit, they identified an eye-shaped magnetic structure, which then they drilled and found the Nova deposit. We're looking for similar targets on our ground, so we will start with some geophysics and then follow that up with shallow drilling, and followed by some ground-based geophysics, and then the final phase will be some RC drilling into those targets. That will take us into the second half of next year.